Hey, so today's topic that I thought was interesting is a video request from Nathan H. So thanks for that. As always, totally keep bringing those in because the community most likely will have some interest or relevance in it. So Nathan H. asks regarding raising an INTJ daughter. Uh, he mentions his daughter is 5 years old and asks any parenting advice, such as best tips that my parents did, or what you wish was done differently, and mentions he's an INTP and wife is an INFJ. So, first off, can't say enough, great foundation. In my opinion, I think it's fantastic to have those two types of personalities that are guiding a young female INTJ. Second, just as an aside, I find it interesting that you already have recognized that in your daughter. So good for you guys on getting that basic understanding of your daughter to best apply her for socializing and going forward in life. So I wrote down some thoughts. There are a couple things that came up immediately, and I'll say them generically, but I'll also bring in some personal thoughts regarding it. So a big thing, even at the age of 5, is asking questions on how to handle things. So when I say that, I'm not meaning generic, high level or adult type of questions necessarily. I am asking more on the idea of situations within their control. So asking, instead of just saying this is how you do something, mention, say for example, making a bed. So you've made her bed before and you're trying to bring her into taking care of her own stuff, and that's an opportunity for her to understand logic and rationalization skills on how do you think you should make your bed? What do you think is the best way of doing it? What helps with that is that it brings up our interest in thinking outside the box, of optimization and creativity. So that's a great way of handling things. I know for myself, with my own kids, I really pushed hard to ask them questions when they came up with some problems. Instead of providing them solutions, asking more open-ended questions on providing some opportunity for them to explore maybe a little bit more deeper, because that allows for a broader scope. The worst thing for INTJs is to feel like they are prescribed a certain way of navigating their life. So second is suggesting options. So say, for example, instead of having it where you are in a situation where they're asking you something, and you see that it's probably outside their depth. They're learning something new. They're asking something that they can't figure out on their own. Usually they're reserved enough. They're going to try and figure it out on their own. But when they're really young, they might not have those tools. So there might be an opportunity to say, hey, have you thought of looking at this online and supervise it? Because just as an aside, again, I did that with my children, and I didn't even think about what might come up when they search for something. So again, totally keep that in mind. But there is an opportunity there that they are able to start forming their own conclusions or navigating things that really empowers them. But also with that, the suggesting of options, you are able to start, instead of them feeling like there's a huge abyss that they're navigating through, you are able to provide, say, 3 or 4 healthy options in that, and they are able to use that as a jumping off point to ask or to say, hey, that's what I want to do. And then you're able to ask, well, why are you thinking that's the best option for you? And if it's in a safe space, which it would seem with the personality types that you would be bringing forward, there's an opportunity there where they're able to have those discussions, if you want, that bring in more analyzing skills. And again, can't say enough, starting at a young age is fantastic, because feeling heard, valued, and that they're not super different than other kids, especially in our education system, which values just going by what the teacher says. This is a great way of showing that their way of thinking is of value. Third is rationale, or reasoning behind discipline. Obviously, every child has to be disciplined at some point. And what an INTJ in general, I would assume, at least for me, has a problem with is just being told, I told you so, or getting yelled at for no reason, that there is no purpose behind it. And that is something that my parents didn't necessarily do. And we can all like give parents a break, because a lot of times, we're tired and we just are trying to, get food on the table and deal with a bunch of other things. So there is a larger component that you should give yourself a break for. However, the rationale behind discipline is huge. So example I have in my own house is just the other day, my husband was really sick and he was sleeping in one of the guest bedrooms because he had a fever and just didn't know what we were dealing with. So in the morning, I told my daughter, I am going down to check on your father, stay up here. And I said, the reason why is because he's sick and the germs are in the house or in his room because the door has been shut. So just stay out. And sure enough, I went to go check on him and she followed me in. I saw her and I turned around and I'm like, get out. And she got scared and she ran up the stairs. I went into her room and I sat down with her and I explained to her, I'm like, look, mommy is very direct about this because you were told specifically, I didn't say this for no reason. I told you ahead of time because daddy is sick. I don't want you in that room. There's a lot of germs that are being contained in that room. Mommy even held her breath while she was in there, just while she was checking. And the point of what I'm trying to get at with this is that you are giving them the context instead of just reinforcing this upper-handed, I'm a parent, swinging a big stick. You're actually including them in on the rationalization of why it's important to do something rather than another. So you're hopefully giving them a tool as to how to handle situations regarding people with illness and hopefully making them feel an understanding of the dynamics. It's not they're in trouble, it is because of this situation. Finally, the last one, and by no means is this exhaustive, we just don't have time, is exposing unique vantage points or ideas. Can't stress this enough. This is like the number one for me. My father especially did this a ton. My mom provided a lot of learning on tactical or detail-oriented things. My mother and I have different personality types, but she's very good at hands-on creation. My dad really did a great job of exposing me to what could be. So when I was really young, like say 8 years old, he would drive me by the university and say, hey, this is where I could see you going to law school. Or he would, at say 10 years old, give me a pound of wheat like wheat itself and teach me this is a commodity and a commodity is traded on this. I am going to sell or give you this much to sell on the commodity market. Was it over my head? Perhaps. But he allowed me to understand what a market is, why it's important, what does it do for the rest of the world, and also how I could or could not make money by deciding when and when not to sell. I'm not advocating on any of these things. The point is that these unique experiences and not pushing your child, but instead showing your child different unique things that are outside of, say, school. And for the curiosity and creativity side of an INTJ, it is fantastic. And especially for a female that we are maybe frustrated with our cohort group where we don't see ourselves in identifying with any of the people around us. This is a great way of seeing that there's a larger world out there and our world doesn't end outside the playground. So anyways, it was a great question. I hope that provided some information back. And as always, leave video requests in the comment section. Love to see them, and I always add them to the list. And thanks so much.